Oh, yeah. So once again, hello to everybody. And I hope you're well and safe. And I want to say calm and peace. Anyway, yes, once again, it is good to have time to talk. And as I mentioned my other day, the recording, the relation to my activities during the day and in the evening. I said we're going to have a meeting with my colleague Abbots through by Zoom, and surprisingly, it went well. That I want to inform you, and only just one Abbot struggled a little bit to get all the things together to join the Zoom. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I'm talking about relative. Relative is very important when we talk about these things, as you know. And, maybe half an hour late, but that's much better than not happened at all. And the meeting went well, and I'm really well, and carrying on my routine things. It is quite interesting, isn't it? You may have found out after we are under this lockdown, the situation, we are gradually, slowly able to build some kind of routine and able to, have a little bit calm and relax under that routine. Although, the routine may not be that very satisfactory, but so I carry on my routine activities, which is all right. This morning, as I mentioned the other day, I joined with Serge Abbott and other 3 monks. 5 of us did the sojong. That is every 15 days. We have to perform purification and confessing. And after that, because today is Wednesday, I did my incense offering. And today's, unlike the previous one, beautiful blue sky. And now it's a little bit overcast. It seems going to get big storm, but I don't know when. It happened several times, but never managed to have a proper storm. Hopefully it may happen today. If that happens, tomorrow will be a little bit cooler. So that is really very much what I've been doing last 2 days, including today. And yesterday I talked to some of my friends, Mongolian friends. We read a little bit on Four Noble Truths, which is quite nice. And so I want to start the reading, otherwise we will not finish this text if I continue my blah blah. Okay, so this text, as I mentioned, as it is titled, words of advice for the lay practitioner, it is written in a verse fashion, not in a loose sentence, in a verse fashion, and very poetically written and quite nice. But I don't know how much it will, poetic when it's translated in English. But in Tibetan, it is in that form. So the first 3 verses that we read last time, more or less, the first verse is Geshe Tashi paying homage to Tara, and I briefly mentioned what is Tara, in terms of the more, not in a, what you call the mythical sense, but more in the philosophical, in a more, the Buddhist understanding of these, the Vajrayana deities, which I mentioned the other day. And then the, next two verses are still, is, explaining the, explaining the, explaining the qualities of the Tara, all the enlightened beings, manifestations of the activities or qualities of the activities which manifest into this goddess, and many different forms, and that is, and out of the three verses that we read last, our gathering, or my blah blah, the last one is more like a, the Geshe Tashi is encouraging to the listener, to listen what he's going to say, what he's going to share, with his, the right intention to help, to support. Out of that intention, he's going to say something meaningful to the people who are, fortunate, and the people who have leisure to do that. In other words, he is, Geshe Tashi is more or less explaining, the nature or the qualities of the human existence that we have right here and now, regardless of, the different ages, regardless of different skin color, regardless of brought up in different cultures, regardless of lived in a different continents or different, gender, in the Buddhist understanding, being born as a human being, there's a great opportunity to benefit, to work for one's own well-beings, and also, to work for the well-beings of others. And that is traditional, like, for example, like Nagarjuna, he counted saying that there were 8 leisure and 10, what you call the, fortunes, and so forth. Like Nagarjuna counted what are the 8 leisures, 10 fortunes, and that kind of, the recognition, that kind of understanding. Although the human life is not perfect, it has lots of shortcomings, lots of challenges, lots of difficulties that I mentioned the other day. We are very much shocked, we are very much surprised. We catch this very tiny virus, and now more than the sort of, many lives are lost and many people got ill. In reality, our life, this body, carries all the potentials to catch these different viruses, and that is what quite often, talk about, fragile, very, very vulnerable. But yet, it has a tremendous sense, potential too. It is not just vulnerable and very challenging, very demanding. As I mentioned, other day, it demands a lot. Going to the toilet, need to feed, and the plane, and all those things. But at the same time, it has a great potential. And these are recognized understood by these great teachers. And not only they have understood, they have recognized that. They sort of, encourage us to understand that, to understand the full nature, the full nature of this human existence, and then compared to the other existence on this planet, what are the unique features, what are the great qualities that we have as a human beings. These crows you may hear, these birds they're singing you may hear. Fortunately, compared to me, they were born with a feather, so they don't need to go to the shop to buy clothes. They're born with that, but we have to. So there are plus and there are also manners. But in terms of to do something really for long term, to one's own sake and for the sake of others, then these great Buddhist masters have recognized human, the existence. Quite often, the Tibetan teachers use this term, precious human birth, rebirth, precious, something very valuable, something very meaningful, precious. So that is what here, this last verse, out of those 3 verses that we read last. And that's important. When we truly and fully understood this human existence, this mind and body, combination of this mind and body, it has great potential, then we will cherish it. We will not waste that time. And there are many nice analogies, which is one is used by the Shantideva. Those days when these business people, when they sail from one continent to another continent to bring, whatever, black paper, whatever, those things. And these are very, very risky journey. Unlike these days, 8 hours, we may, I may get to London or I may get to India from London, 8 to 9 hours, that's it. But those days, going to one continent to another continent, it's 6-7 months in this very, very choppy water in the sea. But if you go there, go to Indonesia to get very precious black papers or whatever those spices, then you go there and go around and look at and smell it, then come back with empty hand back to your continent. Your friends or your families or your colleagues will say, stupid. And that's the analogy you used. So that is what here it is important, to realize, to understand how valuable, how how much potential that we have with this mind and body. And this the verse which the last verse, you'll find the features. You have gained this opportune and leisured human form, and that is what I'm just talking about. And that's people who have listened and read some of those Lamrim texts, or the Nagarjuna's Precious Garland, or the Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, which I already quoted one or twice, in our previous meeting. That will give us really good understanding of this. And then he said, listen well. And listen well has many meanings. Listen well. Listen well can be just, very tentatively, very attentively listen well. Or listen well in some of you who are familiar with the Lamrim, saying listen or participate to listen or to meditate or these things with free from the three, faults. Three faults. Three faults are very nicely used to explain the three faults. Are very nicely used, an analogy saying that, the pot which is bottomless, which hasn't got bottom, pot which has got bottom but very filthy, pot which is not upright, upside down. Those are the three analogies are used when we engage in these listening, contemplation, meditation, reading, whatever. When we engage with the teachers or with somebody, or doing by our own, have that kind of free from those three faults, like the pot which hasn't got the bottom, and then no matter whatever you pour, unable to fill, unable to keep, and it is this like be there. Your body is there, your mind, and the physical body is there, or physical body reading, but unable to capture what is said. Or your pot which is completely filthy, although it has a bottom, but completely filthy. That's your mind. You are able to listen. You are able to participate very attentively, but your intention is not in the right intention, and that really goes like in the filthy pot. If you pour whatever nice, it will get very smelly and become uneatable. So similar to that. And a pot, which is up, down, then no matter whatever you pour, it will not get it there. So that is the same. Those are the things which I will not go any detail, which is in a very nicely explained these things in Geshe Tsongkhapa's Lamrim. When you read the section where he talk about, also the other one is, as a listener, as the follower, we should have three features, to have the ability to really, now my mind is not working. Anyway, it will come back later. It will come back. Okay. Now, then I want to give you first. Now is more or less starting the main text, the main body of the text, or after paying homage, explaining the qualities of the Tara, and then explaining how fortunate that we are, how capable that we are if we utilize this existence, and then encourage us to participate what he's going to say. So those are the like the preparation or preliminary, whatever you term it. Now it's the main body of the text. So here as the text itself is entitled advice for the lay practitioner. Advice for the lay practitioner, in the sense not necessarily lay, strictly saying ordain and lay, not necessarily like that, although in the later part of the one or two verses there are some indication of that. But it is more like in the earlier stage of the people who decided to follow the teachings of the Buddha. The people who decided, after reading, listening, contemplating some of the basic teachings of the Buddha, like the Four Noble Truths, and so on and so forth, then when he or she make the decision, okay, this is the spiritual path or spiritual path that I want to follow. So lay, again, in a very loose sense, that in the earliest stage, or that is now. Therefore, the main the topics in here, Geshe Tashi is dealing with three things. I think I can say. Mainly, really dealing with talking about nature of impermanence, and that is mainly he talked about relation to our body, and the relation to our life, and then very more precisely the art of the 3 or 4 major events that takes in our lives, that last one, which is death. So that is the one topic he's talking about. And the second topic, relation to that, then he talks about, because of nature of impermanence, because of that is the fact, that is the reality. Then he talks about it is worthwhile, it is useful, really, to live our life something more constructively instead of destructively. In a strictly Buddhist terminology, positive karma, live with positive activities rather than negative karma, negative activities. And that is what. And then he moves to talk about a little bit how importance of living life ethically. And in there is a very clear suggestion. He's advising to the lay, because he talks about lay precepts. He talks about 8, 24 hours, that 8, what you call the vows. He talks about particularly, avoiding drinking. Those are really the main topics he touched on during this teaching reading. So I'll just briefly, before we go a little bit detail, just to get get a structure in our head, what he is going to talk, in this text to the lay practitioner, or lay in the sense not necessarily, not ordained, but less, can be also non-ordained, but people who are in the early stage to want to follow the teachings of the Buddha. And that is really something I find is very important for us, as many of you have taught on many occasions, nature of impermanence, which we already talked about this on this topic several times during this, sessions. And one of the very nice analogy that Buddha used to talk about how powerful, how powerful that understanding of impermanence is in our everyday life. And he used this saying, among the many footprints, birds' footprints, ants, that small footprints, Geshe Tashi's footprints, and all those things. Among the footprints, what he said is elephant footprint is most impressive. Je nam ji chongne, langbochi cheo. Je is the footprints. Nam means all, among, and langbochi is elephant. So most impressive, most noticeable, most sort of recognizable. Among the footprints is the what you call the elephant's footprints. What he's talking about here is when we understand the nature of impermanence in general, and applied more closer to our possessions, our status, our relations with others, our friends, our our body, our feelings, our thoughts, and as a life. When you apply that nature of impermanence, and that application, of nature of impermanence, relation us, do things, something productive, constructive, meaningful, helpful to ourselves and to others. That will help us not waste our time. That will help us not to do some of those not meaningful things. And that's what he was saying, that the footprints of elephant is most impressive. Among many other things are there outside there, as I mentioned the other day, there are many different characteristics that we have, our body, our feeling, our thoughts. Among those features, the understanding of impermanence is some. So this is what here Geshe Tsongkhapa is really his main topic on this. The starting point is that. So now, page 211. Immediately come to train your thoughts again and again on such certainties. You will grow no virtuous mind. And even if you it will be spent on enjoyment of the glories of this life. So that is the verse 4. I'll explain in reading. This is what I read in English, but my explanation is more based on the reading in Tibetan, and then it says in Tibetan, definitely it will come. It refers to the death. Definitely it will come, and it will come pretty quickly. Pretty quickly, in the sense, recently I read an article. Currently, the eldest man in the world holding the record, he is 113 years old. So it sounds long, 113 years. It is long. Again, long is comparative. even if I live 100 years, or I don't know whether I'm able to compete with this man or not, I don't know. But even if I compete and win 1 year, more than this man, it's just 114 years. It is nothing. So therefore it is saying, will quickly come. And this is something important, that definitely come, and also it will come relatively in a short moment. It will not continue like this. So if we don't train our mind, if we're not really be aware of that nature, and in Lamrim, in the Tsongkhapas, Geshe Tsongkhapa, in Lamrim Chenmo, explained and also nicely structured how to do the meditation, on this subject. There are 9 reasons. There are 3 conclusions or 4 conclusions. So these are, I will not go any detail on that. And that's what here he was saying, train. If we don't train our mind, if we don't train in the sense of make it, that understanding of that nature of, our life is, impermanent. And that means death will definitely come. And it will come pretty, in a relatively short moment or short, period of time. And those are something very, need to train. If we don't train ourselves, then those, on the one hand, we will not do some of those constructive things that we should do. Like, as I mentioned earlier, this mind and body can be very, very, helpful and useful to ourselves and to others. So we'll not do that. On the other hand, we'll spend most of nature of reality. Then we'll spend lots of our time on the other side, those not very helpful, not very useful, in certain extent more destructive side of the things. And even if we try to think, this is what usually when I was back in UK or in the West, I teased a little bit to say, the Western, it seems, in the English term, laziness means doing nothing, just like a being couch potato. But in the Buddhist understanding of laziness, it is perfectly can be counted as a lazy person, but still he or she is extremely busy. It is called Chawa Ngenshin Gi Lelo in Tibetan. Chawa Ngenshin Gi Lelo. Laziness in the sense oneself keeping extremely busy with the meaningless affairs, meaningless activities. If we spend our life in that way, it is also in the Buddhist understanding counted as a laziness. I'm not saying Westerners are laziness. Don't get wrong. Don't get wrong. I'm not saying that, but I'm just reminding ourselves, and therefore, here, in English, it says, it will be spent. The life will, it will be spent on enjoyment of glories of this life. Of course, it is not saying enjoy this life, all the good things, all the beautiful things, all the nice things. It is not saying don't enjoy. Don't get mistake on this. Sometimes people think Buddhism is very gloomy, very pessimistic, very, don't know all those words. But that's not true. That is not true. What he's saying is, don't spend entire our energies and lifespans that we have just to enjoy these lives, those glorious things. As long as if you want to make progress in the spiritual journey, not only here, right here and now, but also in the next lives. Now we're not talking about those nice, the good things. We're talking about a serious starting journey. As I mentioned, now we're talking about a spiritual journey. Spiritual journey may last many lifetimes. And we're talking about that. So therefore, if we spend entire our life just for enjoyment of this life, then we may find very disappointed after the last day comes. So that is really important. And so therefore, what it's talking about is contemplate, reflect on, familiarize, remember, recall. Is indefinite. And even in that, when it's going to come, that when that time frame is very short, and that is in that nature of life, then we will do more constructive, positive things than the more destructive, the non-positive things. And that's what this verse is talking about. So today we'll leave it here. I thought I will finish 2 verses, but it's okay. Because next verse moved into slightly different things. So I will do the Tara. Before I do the Tara, the recitation, Tara is quite often praised to say, a protector of the 8 fearful things. 8 fearful things. And this is something which, what are those 8? What are those 8? And these all are very, very nicely illustrated in one of the, again, the first Dalai Lama, Yao Genduntu, who established the Tashi Monastery. The founder of the Tashi Monastery was the first Dalai Lama. His name is Genduntu. And he wrote this beautiful, the prayers to Tara, very poetic and very nice. And in that end of that prayer, he, in verse by verse, he talked about those, to Tara saying, you are the protector of this fear. You are the protector of that fear. So today I want to look at it briefly, just the first one out of the 8, first fear. And in Tibetan it says, Jiksota riksu nechede, shenle chogo zembe sem kenchin, paro chetu sepe, war kimjin, ngaje singi jikwa jabdusu. So, this is the, saying you protect me or protect us from the negative pride. Negative pride, which is, illustrated in a lion. This, and among the animal, the lion or the lioness are the most considered as some kind of, I am the king of the jungle. So that is here. So here the illustration is lion. So our negative pride is like lion. Completely completely ignore others' good qualities, others' needs, others' feelings, completely ignore, forget. It also has, negative pride has this, I'm much better than others. I am more holier than others. I am more wiser than others. I am more beautiful than others. I am more, great than others, and so on and so forth. That popped up attitude. I'm better. It is like, although your body is, jigsaw, your body is collection of transitory nature, like and if you have a mountain which is collection of or the varieties of jungles, huge. But this mountain, which is collection in a variety of jungle, called mountain, this body is like that. The collection of many different things, yet it is transitory nature. But you feel, okay, I am something, like a mountain. Although mountain hasn't got the mind like we have, but it's majestic or like that kind of big. So, and this first verse, out of the 8, that Gyalgindu ask, request. Fearful of this negative emotion, which is negative pride, which neglects, which ignores other beings' good qualities, their needs, and also, have this popped up attitude, thinking I'm the better, I'm more important, and so on and so forth. Even though, the body is just a collection of these transitory natures, but still like, like that. So that is first out of the 8. So we will go bit by bit, there. Okay, now is I'm going to say the para. Oh, it's quite long. It become quite long. Anyway. Bodalai ne jone, tami jango le chongchen, waba meje bodai. Tusum sanje tile ma, drama koje shekso. Tada fami jeben, shabji bemo lade. Pongba kunle tunze ma, drama yum la chance. Onje zema, pama drama la chance. Chanze drama nyuma pa, chene keje lo danta. Jigden sumgun chuji che, kesa chewa lene jo. Chanze donge dawa kun, kangwa jene zigwe she. Kama tongda zoba namonje, rabdo chewe ramba. Chanze semu chune che, peme chame namba che. Chenpa zundu kato she, seba samten chu. Chanze Tejin Shebe Zo, Paye Nambara Jawa Che, Malu Paro Jimba To, Jave Seji Shindo Ten, Chanze Duda Rang Ye, Duda Choda Namba Kan, Jingden Dombo Shabdi Ne, Leva Meba Gubaran, Chanze Jajin Mela Tsangba, Wongla Na So Wanju Che, Chombo Rana Tisa Nama, Nijin Soji Dunet, Chanze Jeje Chadang Pe, Paro Chogo Rabdo, Egon Yunja Shabdi Ne, Mabara Chogan Shindo, Chanze Dore Jiba Chenbo, Tuji Pao Nambara Chon, Chuje Shene Chonye Den, Rao Tamje Malu Chanze Gunjo Sumzen Chade, Seme Toga Nambara Jen, Malu Joje Kolo Jen, Rangi Veje Sonam Chöbe, Chanze Rabdo Gawa Je, Ujin Veje Chenwa Be, Sheba Rabshe Toda Ra, Dudan Jigden Wando Ze, Chanze Sashi Jongwe Tso, Tamje Guba Numani, Tonye Yewa Yege Hong, Pongba Tamje Nabara Cho, Chanze Dawe Dombo Ojen, Jemba Tamje Shindo Pana, Rebe Chene Weba Me, Tabara Shindo Weba Ze, Chanze Gebe Tama Me, Barwe Chenwe Une, Yejan Yungum Gune Koroke, Daya Pongne Nambara Cho, Chanze Sashi Ngala Chake, Pegi Nujin Shabde Dong, Chonye Jenze Yige Honge, Yemba Dumbo Namnege, Chanze Dema Gema She, Nyangen Deshin Chuni, Sowa Om Dayanda Den, Dikwa Chenbo Chomba Nyema, Chanze Gune Korova Ka, Daye Lune Nabarage, Yige Jube Ngani Kube, Dikwa Hunle Domani, Chanze Ture Shamni Dabe, Honge Nambe Sabuni, Rera Menda Ratan Beche, Jigden Somna Yewani, Chanze Laye Tsoye Nambe, Reta Tajen Chanana, Tara Niju Peje Yeke, Gona Malu Banese, Chanze Laye Tsonama Jebo, Adamiam Jeten, Gwene Goja Gawa Jeke, Tsoda Melwa Ngebase, Chanze Nima Dawa Je, Chinye Pola Verose, Hara Niju Tudarai, Shindo Tabu Rinese, Chanze Tinye Sumnam Gobe, Shive Tudayanda Den, Dudan Rama Nijin Tsona, Jomba Turi Rabjoni, Zawe Ngaji Tuban Te, Chanze Wane Nifu Zang. Chanju Senjo Rinpo Che, Maje Banama Je, Jeba Nyamba Meba, Kone Kondo Pewa, Kari Rave Kore Shindam, Pendan Dewa Maru, Jere Sewa Tenzin Jaso, Shabe Side Pan, Tenjo. Oh yeah, thank you. So according to the Tibetan culture, it is auspicious because rain starts. You may hear the noise or you may not, but rain starts because nowadays most of those buildings are top, they have a tin roof now. Under the very solid concrete, for example, I can see the school, the building, But on top of that, because of inequality of the Indian cement and irons all together, no matter how much you build a solid building, you have to have another protection on the top, a tin roof. So now they said, that when they have this kind of, rain, you can hear this tin roof banging. You may hear, you may not, but anyway, that's what you can see. And that those red are those tin roofs. Anyway, okay, thank you, and take care, and see you next time. Thank you.